Welcome to our section on loops, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl, and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in logical order. And this is the loop section. The loop section is a series of short videos designed to get you the tools to have your programs do repetitive tasks. This time we're going to look at the workhorse of all loops, the for loop. It's an oldie but goodie. You as the programmer have total control on how you use this loop. You set it up where it starts. You set up how long it should run. You set up how it should move forward or backwards. Yeah, backwards. And it's easy to use. Use an integer variable as your counter. Use this counter to step through your loop. One at a time, two at a time, whatever. This counter is what you check against your Boolean statement to determine if you should keep running or not. The counter is key here. Like all code, it's a lot easier to understand how it works when you actually see it. So let's do that. Let's take a look at a video.
Okay, the for loop it's like an oldie but goodie. It's especially designed for a situation requiring a counter variable to control the number of times that a loop iterates. It's been around forever, and it's useful for all kinds of applications. You must specify three actions. There's an initialization, a one-time expression that defines the initial value of the counter. In other words, where are you going to start the counting from? 0, 1, 7, whatever. Then there's going to be a test, a Boolean expression to be tested. If true, the loop continues. If false, it stops and goes through. And the update piece, you want to increase or decrease the value of the counter. And you can increase it by 1, or you can increase it by 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever. You can skip on. It's very, very versatile. The generic form is for initialization express, test expression, update expression. In other words, what you're going to initialize the variable for goes first, then the test expression, what you're going to test it for, then the counter is going to be the last thing in that thing. And then you got your bracket where you're going to have your block of code that actually executes when you're running. It's a pre-test loop. It is going to do the testing first. Here's some sample code. We have a counter established. It can be established anywhere inside the block you're doing or up above. For count equals 1, we're going to be count as less than or equal to 5, count plus plus. So in other words, we're going to start our counter with a 1. And as long as it's less than or equal to 5, we're going to continue. And this is what's going to increment the counter, the count plus plus. So it does this code right in here. Message box, show hello. It'll do this over and over again. Do it once. It'll come back and increment the counter and then test it. It'll keep going through this cycle. When it finally reaches the point where it's not less than or equal to 5, it fails this test, then it will go through the block and end. So in this case, the initialization expression is assigned 1 to the count variable. The expression count is less than or equal to 5 is tested. If true, it continues to display the message. The update expression adds 1 to the count variable, and then it starts the loop over again. As you can see right in here. Here's what the count looks like. It's actually coded. There's also this plus and minus operators. I'm of the old school where the count equals count plus 1 is the way I count variables. It's the way we only could do this at one time, way back when. But since that time, you got the count plus plus, and you got the count plus equals 1. These are all identical. So any way you want to count, any way it feels comfortable for you, go ahead and do that. I like this one because it is first one because it is more clear. I know what it's doing. It's taking count, it's taking the counter, and it's adding 1 to it, and then storing it back in count. This is doing the same thing, count plus plus and count plus equals 1, but it doesn't really kind of show it. But as a programmer, you know this. But for anyone's going to read your code, if they're not really familiar with the code, this one is probably going to be a little bit clearer to them. Same thing as subtracting. You can decrement the counter this way. Minus minus and minus equals works the same way. So that's there. The other thing, here's an example of incrementing the counter by 10. We have the int counter is equal to 0. We're going to test that it's less than or equal to 100. And we're going to increment it by 10. So in other words, you're going to do 10. You're going to start out with 0. Then it's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And then finally 110, which is going to fail, and it's going to drop through. So you can't increment it this way. It's very versatile from that standpoint. If you're going through a database, you want to pick up every other customer in your file. You can do that by adding 2, by incrementing it by 2 each time. You can decrement the counter variable to make it count backwards. And you can do that also by multiples of 10, 5, whatever you want. You don't have to do it by ones or any of that matter. Okay, let's take a look at, let's see this in action. It's always good to see the code when it's actually running. I'm going to use the same program that we use in our while loop here, but I'm going to add another button here. So I'm going to actually go ahead and copy this button and paste it right over here. And we're going to call this thing the for button. So I'm going to go ahead and change this name here to for. And then I'm going to change the name in code to button for, BTN-FOR. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off to my code and actually create this this block of code here. So I'm going to go out there and you'll see it sitting right beneath the button while, which I'll close off. I'll leave it open for now. And here's the button for event. Now what we want to do is we've got our counter established way up here. So we've got that counter counter is still there, so we can always use that. So in order to actually run this code, what I want to do is I want to say for, FOR, for. And you set up a parentheses. I think we call it encounter. Yes, we did. Encounter. We're going to equal to 0. We're going to set it to the first one. Then we're going to say int counter is less than, let's say, 7. And then we're going to say int counter. I'm going to use mine. I'm going to actually say int counter is equal to int counter plus 1. And end it that way. And then put my code in place. So now my block of code is sitting out. So I've got everything set up here. So it's going to start at 0. As long as it's less than 7, it's going to continue to iterate. And here we're going to increment the counter by 1 each time. So now my code is going to be sitting out here. So I'm going to say LBL counter dot text is equal to int counter to string. So this is going to place in the label, in the text property of the label counter, which I've got sitting up here, it's going to put the counter's variable. We probably won't see this till the very, very end when it's actually done because it's going to go so fast. It'll increment like that. We're going to go down here and we're going to say LBX stuff, or LBX out, I should say. No, we're going to say LBX original dot selected index is equal to int counter. In other words, it's going to use the counter to point toward our list box and select the item we're interested in. So that's what we're going to do there. Once we've got that index pointed there, we can simply say that our LBX out dot items, I'm having trouble spelling here, items dot add is equal to LBX original dot selected item got to drop down here and grab it to string. And oops, I'm not quite right here. There we go. Now it's happy. And we got it in place. That's all the code we need to run this thing. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to actually run this. We'll do a file save on it. Save all. We'll go to our start button. Bring it up. I've got that thing sitting right here, and we're simply going to run the for button. So hit this thing and bang. And it takes the first 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got 7 of them. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 0 through 6 is our 7 items. So we're starting with 0 and going out 7 of them. And you notice our counter is 6. So it's sitting on the 6th one as we're looking at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And pull those guys down. Now I can go ahead and change this. This is where the flexibility comes in. I can set this counter to be equal to 2. And do nothing more than simply go ahead and file save and run it, and it'll start at the second item. Run it now, and bang, we start out with Sylvester. 0, 1, 2. This is 2 right here. 0, 1, 2. And it goes down again through 7, so it ends up with 6 here, and stops at that point in time and grabs these guys. Now I can also do this. I can change my counter. Let's go back to 0 on this guy. I'll start from the beginning. And let's change this to go every other one. And then let's run it. Do a file save. Do a run. And hit the 4. And bang. Tax. We should have Taz up there. Sylvester. Petunia. Elmer. Every other one gets picked up. So it's very, very flexible in the way you can use the for next to it. It's been around forever. And it's the one you're most commonly going to use. So that's what the for loop looks like.
Pretty nice, right? A variation of the for loop has been around since loops were invented. It's just a great workhorse. You find yourself using it in virtually every program you write. Initialization. Basically, you set where the loop starts by initializing your counter. Test. You set up a Boolean expression to test the counter. If true, you move forward. False, you terminate. Update. You increase or decrease the value of the counter. Block of code. This consists of what should happen if the condition is true. It's what you'll execute. For now, what you should take out of this video is this is a pre-test loop. It does the checking before it does any execution of any of the code. There's 2 parts, the condition and the statement or statements to execute. In the next video, we'll examine the do-while loop, not to be confused with the while loop. But that's next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. It will help you. If you get a chance, please subscribe. That way you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.